Hi, I'm Andy, and I'm the operations manager here at IKYA Center in Oslo, Norway. And I'm here with IKYA today, and we are going to chat about IKYA Line Crystal Healing Collection 3, which is starting already on the 1st of June this summer. IKYA and I are going to discuss this absolutely amazing course, and going to start with some congratulations are in order because we've understood that this is really the most successful crystal healing course in Norway. And we're really excited about Collection 3. We've had a year and a half of amazing teachings. We have a half a year to go, and we're really excited to get started on our third year. So, IKYA. We've gotten a lot of feedback from the students in the course that this is one of the most amazing, life-transforming, inspiring spiritual teachings and courses that they've been a part of. Why is that?
Well, I think the unique thing about this course is that although it's about crystals, it's mostly about the spiritual principles that they represent. And often when we study spirituality, it can be too fluffy, too abstract, and it can be difficult relating to it. The unique part of this course is that you get one crystal each month, and each of them represent a new angle, a new approach to spirituality, and they represent specific spiritual principles that you study with the crystals. But what happens is you have a physical object vibrating that information. And it will affect you. It will become part of your body because that vibration will be a constant influence. And when you combine that with the teachings, it's like tuning into the right channel. So you become more able to absorb the teachings and harmonize yourself with the teachings from the stones, and you get so much more out of it. And I've talked with people who have been struggling both with spirituality because it can be difficult to grasp, and they've never ever had an experience with crystals. And so that combination is not only unique, but it represents a breakthrough in the way that people get it. They can feel it physically, you can feel it emotionally, mentally. And it simply means that the teachings are getting absorbed into your body, your subconscious, no matter what you do. And some of the participants, they've had the experience of, even when they have a problem connecting with the stones, because, it's not like we automatically know how to do that. They've joined the course and they can feel the stone is connecting to them. They're so surprised because they don't expect this to work, and they'll be quite skeptical. And then they have the experience of the stone actively connecting to them and changing their energy and changing how they feel. And then when they listen to the teachings, they get it. So it transforms you in a very, I would say, comfortable way, because you become an active part of the teachings, the active part of the studies. So it's so much more than just a crystal course.
And that's actually some of the feedback that we've gotten, is that in some ways this isn't even a course about crystals. It's really more a course about spiritual principles. And one of the things that I find fascinating is we have students in this course all over the planet. And yet a friend of mine in Costa Rica will call me up and say, hey, this thing is happening in my life, and I really think it's about the crystal. And then I will respond, something really similar is happening in my life. I think it's about the crystal. And we just keep hearing that from all corners of the planet. How is that possible that people in a course, and they can be anywhere in the world, are having similar experiences?
Working with crystals, once you realize that it's real, that there are living beings of consciousness, so though they're structural beings. When we humans think of living beings. We think of life forms very close to the human life form. And the closer they are to the human life form, the more alive they are. And the further away they are from the human life form, the less alive they are. That's the belief system. It's difficult, therefore, for humans to relate to the fact that a crystal can be alive and that it can be a carrier of consciousness and intention and energy. Because it's just, laying there and doing nothing.
Yeah, to us it's a rock,
Right.
you know.
But we need to understand that absolutely everything in existence is alive. Every atom is vibrating. And when you look at it, the human body is simply a structure of atoms. So is a crystal. So it can actively vibrate and represent a certain spectrum of energies and cosmic rays. And they affect us. So when we work with a certain crystal, they will enhance that spectrum in our minds, in our emotions, in our bodies, because we contain those vibrations. But when enhanced by a crystal, it becomes more active in our own mind, in our own spectrum, and that will in turn affect how we think and feel and act and what we notice in life. So everyone in the course will have kind of universal experiences. And the fun thing to me, there are so many fun things about this course, but one of the most exciting things to me is that people who've had no previous experience with working with crystals, when we get the new one, because like each month, it's a surprise. And when the teaching starts, they recognize, oh, so this is what's been going on over the last week, because all of you get kind of slowly phased into the new one. And whatever karma is relevant to this stone and the teachings will start manifesting in your life as part of the unpacking and the preparation. But this is how it works. And it can be surprising for people who are used to our cultural kind of premise of what's real and what's not, to understand that we're working with energy and it's actually manifesting for real. But to me, this is one of the beautiful things about this course. And I've talked to so many people saying that this is the first time they have experienced spirituality being tangible. It's concrete, it's real, it's not a belief system. And they can see how the teachings manifest in their own lives. And they have to deal with it. And when they do, they recognize that, oh, I'm being trained in the exact things that I was taught in the course. So it becomes extremely concrete. And it therefore gives you the opportunity to deal with your karma and deal with your spiritual journey in a very concrete and direct way. And to me, this is what spirituality is about. It's not belief systems. It's not fluff. It's not something to hold on to. It's not philosophy. It's that concrete work that leads to growth and healing.
It's fascinating as we talk about it, the solidity of holding a crystal in my hand. It occurs to me that because the crystals are vibrating and they're all of the same crystal, they're connected to the same mother crystal and the same gemstone guardian, that it also offers, like, let me put it this way, when we're just receiving a teaching, like through video or audio or at an actual physical teaching, I'm in my own space and I'm able to interpret it in whatever way, in a sense, I want to. But when we're each holding a crystal from the same, mother crystal, there isn't that space for making it personal. It's like I'm confronted with the universality of the teaching, and it strikes me that's part of what's happening around the globe, is that we're all receiving the teaching in the same way, because we've got that crystal in our hands. Is there some truth to that? Because it feels like a really unique aspect of this course.
Yes, it also becomes a kind of collective journey. And I think it's important, yes, to discover that we're not that different from one another. We all, as humans, in this human journey, we share a lot of the same karma. That's why we choose the same life form and the same time to incarnate, because we share a lot of the same karmic issues. So when that is being activated in our own spiritual journey, And through a specific crystal, that kind of spectrum is being activated. We will have very similar experiences, which then, of course, enhances the whole journey through this course, because it is like this wonderful kind of group journey that we take part in. And when you take part in this course, you can exchange with others and you will find those similarities. And for many people, that's also a revelation in itself, that our journeys are connected, and also it will enhance the experience and the understanding of what this course is actually about. Because when you have concrete experiences in your life and you talk about them with other people in the course, and through that you become aware, oh, right, this is part of the teaching. This is the unfoldment of it. Yeah, it's part of making it real. And everything I do as a spiritual educator is trying to make spirituality concrete, making it accessible, giving people practices and tools that empower the individual in their own journey, in their own way. So we're set free from traditions and belief systems and rules, so we don't have to follow anyone or submit to anything, but that we get the tools to explore in our own way. But even though we are all unique beings, and even though we're all walking our own unique path, we can do it together. We can still have that recognition that we're still sharing reality, that we're not that different from one another, and we can mirror, and we can support, and we can nurture, and we can lead each other to revelations and insight. So yes, this is a wonderful group journey where every month, you get a new kind of looking glass, like with each crystal, you get to view reality and yourself through a specific, unit. Just like wearing specific glasses that gives you access to a variation of the world and variation of you. And it's also fun to share with others. It makes it so much concrete and alive, I think.
And that's actually one of the ways in which we here at the center have been working to make this course come to life, is by building that sense of community. We use a Facebook group to exchange and share experiences and ask questions of each other. And that also helps us to then come. The teachings are actually twice a month, every 2 weeks. So we just get so much amazing teaching and insight into ourselves and how life works. And then we're able to exchange with each other, and we come back to the second teaching with each crystal each month, where we can ask IKYA questions and really bring our experiences in and go a little bit deeper into it. This is a really unique course on the planet, and I'm curious, why did you want to develop this course, and why is it important to you?
I've always loved crystals, but I find that they're often misunderstood, and humans have not really accessed the full potential of what it means to work with these beings, because you need to acknowledge that they're beings and not just rocks. And when you look at the teachings around crystals, they're still childish, they're still self-centered. There's always, what can I get out of it? They can support your emotions, you can get protection. It's always that. It's not about true spiritual work. And some people will get very provoked when I say this, but if you join the course, you will understand what I'm talking about. It's accessing a new level of working with crystals that also means that we as humans have to be so much more aware of the respect and collaboration. We cannot be consumed by our own selfish needs, because this course is really about how to grow into spiritual service and what we need to do. And if you think of you needing to clean your house, you wouldn't use the same brush or cloth or soap, whatever it is, for everything, right? So we need different tools and different detergents or soaps, whatever it is, for different tasks. And this is really what it is. It's about like cleaning your house, cleaning your being, cleaning your life in such a way that you can also be in service. Because if you have too much clutter, if you have too much blocking you, that will fill your consciousness. It will fill your mind. It will fill your emotions. And that's pretty much all it will be focused on. It will be your needs and your lacks. And we will complain and suffer and whine about it. And that's basically our lives. We have to move into a state of balance. And that means we have to do the growth work. We have to heal. We have to purify. We have to detox emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And to study ourselves from different angles, therefore, is important. You can't use the same practice to clean out everything. And I see it as necessary today also because the planet is changing, our culture is changing. The very definition of the human journey is also changing, what it means to be human. When we look at the younger generation, they're already on a very different path of what it means to be human. So we need to change. And working with crystal can be deeply transformational if you go beyond the level of making yourself feel good. But you need to learn how to do it, and you need to have access to the deeper teachings about these crystals. And a lot of what I teach on this course has not been taught before. It represents a new level. And many people experience this as almost numbingly advanced. They can feel that their mind and emotions simply want to give up because it's a state of overwhelm. It's so much information, it's so compact, because I'm not holding back. I'm trying to give you guys as much information as possible about how to work on an advanced level. And your job is to digest, it's to adjust and clean your house. And it takes a willing individual, a willing mind, willing emotions to be part of this process. It's not for everyone. But if you feel that you are ready for your next level, and you're willing to confront yourself, and if you're willing to do what is necessary to go into a more advanced level of spirituality, you might find this course interesting.
So for someone who loves crystals, has been working with crystals for years, has taken all the courses they can find and read all the books, why IKYA Line Crystal Healing?
For some people, this will be a course that will change everything. Because the information is so different. And it's so much more compact. Some people, when they have done crystal work for years, they kind of found their way to work with them and they're comfortable with being on that level. And then I would say that do whatever you want. If you're comfortable with whatever you are doing, keep doing it. I always teach that there's a path for everyone. There is a level of consciousness and teachings and approaches for every single path, every single level of consciousness. So to me, this is not a competition. If you're happy with where you are, please stay where you are. But a lot of people have also the experience that there's got to be more than this. Maybe they have connected with crystals and have had profound experiences. And they know that there is more to this than just, healing a little bit here and there and getting protection and working with your emotions and stuff. That they represent pathways to higher teaching. And then you might find this course fun to explore. And just see what's on the next level. But for many people, when they've been working with crystals their entire lives, just keep going. We all have to find our own path and our own way. And that also goes for crystals. So this is a course for those who feel that they want something more, they want something different, and they haven't found it anywhere else. Those are often the people who end up coming to me, are those who've kind of been to all the courses, read all the books, been to all the teachers, and they're just like, I'm done with that. I want to learn for myself. I want to get the tools, I want to get the insights, and I want to do the work myself. Those are often the people who are attracted to what I teach.
So for the crystal novice, who's a little confused perhaps by the statement that a crystal is a living being, but is curious, what do you say to that person? Why IKYA line crystal healing?
Because you might as well start here. It is important, I think, today that we try to go straight to what works. We don't have to go through all the traditions, everything that's established. Remember that we as humans are changing and growing, so is spirituality. Because as consciousness is changing, what is being available to humans are also changing. And many people come to me also with what they think is very little insight into spirituality. They just have in themselves an understanding that what is out there is not for them. And many people also feel that, spirituality is not for me because it's all that fluff, is all practices, belief systems, and they don't feel at home in it. Doesn't mean that they're not spiritual, because to me, spirituality is simply exploring reality, exploring ourselves, exploring the relation between the two, and figuring out what is real. And there are so many ways to do this. But what I'm offering is a very direct and confrontational way that offers the opportunity for you to become a spiritual explorer for real, in your own right, in your own strength, and build that strength and build that consciousness in you and unfold what is unique to you. And many people incarnate today, they already have a more advanced starting point. And this is why they often don't feel at home in established spirituality. Because spiritually, they're already beyond that. So I've talked to so many people who first think that, they're not really spiritual because they see all this modern spirituality and say, meh, And then they realize, oh, right, it's a different approach available where I can become the one doing the exploration and I can build my tools and I can become fully aware of my own life and explore what's here. Spirituality does not have to be about somewhere else, about all those belief systems and beings and dimensions. To me, spirituality is exploring what is here. And exploring it also means to unpack it, peel away the illusory part of what we experience and understand how to go beyond our sensory experiences, to expand consciousness right here and now. Because we incarnate into this world for a reason. And it means all the spiritual potentials in our path are right here, are right now. And we can learn to unfold that and to become fully present and fully engaged. So we're peeling away the illusions of the version that we are experiencing through our senses. And then everything opens up. So what people seek in other dimensions, in in all that abstract stuff, we realize that it's right here. And it's only when we stop seeking it somewhere else that we also develop the willingness to do the work right here and right now as humans. And also then redefining what it means to be human, redefining our own human journey, and to make our whole life a spiritual practice. So you don't need any previous experience. I think when you join this course, you will connect with it. You will experience a deep sense of connectedness, not only with crystals, but with your own spiritual flow. And you will open up your consciousness and your mind and emotions and your life in ways you didn't know even was available to you. So that is really what this course is about. It's helping you unpack all the potentials in your own life in this very lifetime.
This course is called IKYA Aligned Crystal Healing. So a lot of people ask, the aligned part, what is that all about?
If you understand that crystals are live beings, it's just like plants that grow extremely slowly, you know? It also means that they can die. All life forms can die. But the crystal will not decompose. The structure will still be there. And most crystals that people use are actually dead. And there are many reasons for that. It's that, you know, that form has simply died, just like humans die at some point. It can also happen through trauma, how they're being mined. It could also be due to stress, both what's happening on the planet, but also how you treat it. Now, just like a leaf on a tree, a leaf needs to be connected to the tree for kind of the juices and the flow and the energy of the tree to be part of that leaf, and it will be alive. And the moment the leaf disconnects from the tree, it's dying. And so it is with crystals. They need to be connected to what we often refer to as mother crystals, which can be compared to a tree. And individual crystals can be viewed as leaves. So all the crystals that we use in the course, they are still part of the tree, and therefore they're vibrant. And the vibration of the mother crystal will vibrate through the crystals that you have. And we're also enhancing the flow through that crystal and enhancing the crystal's ability to channel. So when you get your crystal, it's vibrant and it's channeling on its own. And when they are aligned, it also means that they're very robust. You never really need to cleanse them, because as long as they're part of the tree, they're self-cleansing. And this is also the big difference between crystals that are still aligned and crystals that are not. Crystals that are not need a lot of cleansing because they're dying or dead. It means even a dead crystal can work, but it will only, as a structure, then reflect your own energy.
Sort of passively,
Yes.
and statically. Yeah.
So your own energy will then pass through that crystal and be reflected. So you will also then have a type of enhancement of your own energy because it's being mirrored, and therefore you become more aware of it. But when you have a crystal that is alive, it will also be channeling that energy actively. And this is what people in the course are so surprised. You know, I've again talked with people who've been dealing with crystals their entire lives. They said this is so different because they can feel that no matter what they do, the crystal is actively working, and it becomes like an extra organ, you know, that is doing its thing without you even focusing on it. And that can only happen when they are alive and aligned. And in this course, also because we're working with the mother crystals, we're working with guardians, the whole flow into your own system, your own consciousness, will be amplified.
So one way that I've heard my fellow students talking is that the difference is a little bit like with these non-aligned dead crystals, it's a bit basically just like looking in a mirror. Whereas with these alive, vibrant, IKYA aligned gemstones, it's an actual dialogue because I'm projecting, but also the crystals actively projecting the teachings that you're, sort of giving through from the guardians to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just like dialogue with a person, If you are talking to someone in a coma, it will be mostly you do the talking, and you can still have emotions, you can still connect with their stories and all of that. But when you have a live person, that person can also talk back, can also introduce ideas and angles, and see you and confront you in ways that you can't do just looking in the mirror, right? So it adds a new level. And it's important to understand that there are fewer and fewer alive crystals on this planet because humans don't treat crystals very well, just like they don't treat animals well, they don't treat plants well, they don't treat each other well. So when you're dealing with a life form that they don't even understand is alive, humans normally have no respect for them. So we make sure that all the crystals we use are alive and are aligned and therefore also protected. And we advise people to treat them like family members and organs and pets and whatever, but that we show them respect and love so they can do their job. And I think also it's an important discipline for humans to learn to relate to the fact that all life is alive. They all have purpose, they're all channeling energy. And I hope also when working with the crystals in this course that people get inspired to look at everything around them as living beings and enhance the respect and the love and the cooperation that we can have with everything around us.
So what I hear is that the IKYA alignment is really about expanding and strengthening that connection and flow to the mother crystal. But then there's personal alignment, and that's a choice you have when you join IKYA Aligned Crystal Healing. You can also have your gemstones personally aligned. What does that mean? How does it work?
It means that a particular crystal will be assigned to you and becomes more actively like an extra organ. And it means that it will mostly be working with you. When other people hold a stone, because it's alive, they will feel something. But it will be actively working with you. And also people in the course, they notice a difference because we've had some people joining without aligning them personally. And then they figure out, oh, I should have had them aligned. And then we align them personally, and I feel it's a whole new level. Because they become like extra organs. They focus on you in particular. And they become part of your body, and they become part of your consciousness. And the alignment process is interesting in the way that we can see the stone changing. And for people who are not used to crystals being alive, this can be shocking. I've had also people coming to me in sessions, and they bring their crystals. And as we work, they can see that the crystal is physically changing before their eyes. And a typical thing is that, you could have a clear quartz. And they come with it, and it's being aligned, but because of the session and what we're doing, it can be clear, at the start. And by the end of the session, it's milky white. Because it's working and it's helping that individual to transmute the energies. And we've also seen stones looking a certain way. They can change pattern, they can change kind of the whole appearance based on how kind of hard it's working. And this is yet another level where people get so surprised because this can't be happening, and yet it is. So it's so fun when we're doing the alignment process. Often within a few days, we can see that they physically change. And it's part of the stones then becoming assigned and completely connected to their individual.
For those out there who are aware of IKYA crystal healing, we've been at it for 1.5 years, and they've been on the threshold. They've been kind of observing, wondering, maybe they have some form of resistance, but they just haven't made the leap yet. What would you say to those people who are like right there wondering, do I take that next step and join Collection 3?
Yeah. I think if you want to take part in what I teach, this is the course. Because I teach everything there, you know, and through these crystals, you get so many angles, so many approaches. And no matter where you are at in your journey, you will get an angle that just hits you. You will get activated, you will get triggered, and you will trigger growth, insight, healing. You will get help to process your karma more quickly. Everything is being enhanced. And I think, you know, the best way is to talk with someone who is part of this course. And many of them, I think most, will tell you that this has been absolutely transformational. And they've never ever received this much spiritual knowledge in this kind of compact format. And also it's fun, it's accessible, and we're doing it together. So I think, like, if you are wondering if this is for you, it is. You know, if you've been following my teachings at all and you're curious or want to know more, this is the course. And you'll get so much out of it. It will, as I say, hit you in so many different ways, and you will be given tools, knowledge, insight, practices, ideas, so you can approach your own journey with more confidence and with more tools and have more fun with it, you know, and to truly allow yourself to explore for real. And I think people who know about this course that have not joined yet, it is because they're thinking, well, you know, am I ready for this? Is this too difficult? And the thing is, we will never get ready for anything. You know, life unfolds, and we can be part of it, or we can sit, you know, in the waiting room and just wait for something to appear, and it never will. This is a course that is right in front of you with advanced spiritual teaching. Everything you need in order to grow and heal for real. So I think it's also a matter of stepping up and make that decision to commit to your own spiritual journey for real. And you don't even have to be that interested in crystals. You know, this is a course where we work with crystals as a way to keep our focus on certain spiritual principles, and then we shift to another stone and another angle. So it becomes more playful. But if you are serious about your own spiritual education and you feel that you have that dedication in your heart to follow your path, then join us. Pretty much, you know, this is the course I wish would have been available to me when I were where you guys are. So it's what I wish had been available because it contains so much. And everyone taking part in the course, they transform. Their growth accelerates. And I think if you know someone in the course, you can see it. Their growth, their insight, their ability to process their own life and to deal with their karma. There are real changes. And it's not based on beliefs. It's based on learning how to deal with things for real. And the results you get are permanent because it's you, it's your involvement, it's your path. So I can't recommend this course enough. If you want to accelerate your spiritual journey, don't hesitate. Join us. You will get to a point of experiencing this level of unfoldment in a very concrete way, and you will see, if you allow it, that your whole life opens up. And you will get results in your spiritual efforts that you've never had before.
So IKYA, you've been teaching, sharing spiritual principles for decades, and silent retreats, weekend seminars, longer term courses, developing an entire vibrational medicine system and teaching therapists. I mean, you've really, IKYA meditation, IKYA tantra, all of these different angles. This course in IKYA line crystal healing feels in some way like not the end, but a culmination. And I'm just curious, it's 2 teachings a month. You design a meditation with each crystal. We provide your teaching online for people to listen or watch every day if they want to. This format, it feels very unique, but it also feels very intentional in how you've designed it. Why this format and with these beautiful, amazing crystals in our hands?
You're right, that this is in many ways the mothership of what we do. And to me, it's all about making spiritual teachings and spiritual principles available, making them tangible and concrete. So by having a physical crystal that vibrates on that particular frequency or that particular spectrum, that enables you to absorb the teachings, that is what is so unique. And you get help in really processing the teachings, because what you have access to in this course is advanced spiritual teachings. So don't kind of fool yourself into believing that this is yet another crystal course. It is not. And when you open yourself up, you will be challenged in ways you've never been challenged before. And you get the opportunity to transform and to grow and to heal faster than ever. And yes, I have planned this course, for 20 years almost. And it's because I felt it's time to do it now. I think people are ready for this. Traditionally, people want spirituality to be at the distance, so they can control it. They can go to class, they can study something, they can have a practice, and then they can go in and out of it. They can control it, making it something that's not part of their lives. And this is typical how humans operate. This is also the thing with religion. You go to church and you're all spiritual, and then you go home and you just continue as normal. And this is what humans often like. It's having that separation, because then you really don't have to live it for real. Everything I teach is about living spirituality, living spiritual principles, and how to break down that wall between what people think of as spirituality and what life is. Because people often do not see the connection. So they turn spirituality into some kind of fluffy, abstract fairy tale that make them feel good, right? And then they can say, oh, I'm healing now, but then they go back to their lives and they suffer. And this course is really assisting people in breaking down that barrier and making them understand that spirituality is here and now. It's who you are even as a person. It's what you do, how you treat other people, and it's also what you achieve in life, your personal goals. And to transform your life into a spiritual arena, because it already is. It's the way we think that is kind of blocking us from accepting that our life is our spiritual journey. So this course is pulling spirituality back into where it belongs, in your life, in your real life, and is assisting you in understanding how everything works. Because how can we learn to look at life and see kind of what we often call the face of God? How can we see spirituality being expressed and see that kind of organism of consciousness? How can we see oneness beyond the feeling and the philosophy and, ooh, I see oneness and everything? And say, no, you don't, because then you would live it. You have to live it first. So in the course, you will learn how to do it for real, how to get to the point where your life becomes a spiritual vehicle, where you can be in service, where you can also achieve your goals and be a productive human being. And let all of this melt together. And I think this is where we are at as humans. We're at a point where the planet has to change, where human culture has to change. And we can't just sit there and meditate and think that will change everything. I often talk about how modern spirituality has been too much about, oh, I'm sitting meditating and my energy is so strong, I'm healing the planet now. No, you're not. You have to become an individual where everything you do, everything you say, what you think and feel vibrates a higher level. And it takes more work than just claiming that my energy is so wonderful. It takes a lot of work. And even growing into that intention and willingness takes time. But more and more people are looking at human spirituality today and say, like, yeah, we have to get better. We have to do better than this. So for those people, this is the course. You will get to know everything you need in order to transform your life and to become that spiritual vehicle of service that you truly sense in your heart that you not only want to be, but the spiritual vehicle that you have to be. Many people today, they know that they have an obligation spiritually to be part of lifting the planet. But it can't just be a philosophy. It can't be just like feeling that, ooh, I'm helping the planet. You have to do something as well. You have to transform that intention into practical work and to let your whole life consistently demonstrate that level of dedication and service. And that's harder than we want it to be as humans. This is why we want that separation, because we can then do our practices and feel good about ourselves and create the story how important we are, and then we go into our lives and behave, like apes. Doing the work for real is extremely challenging. And then you need to learn how to deal with all your patterns, programmings, even genetics. Because we all have it, we're in this life form and it dominates everything. And going beyond that, while still in the human body, while still having a productive life, is extremely difficult. But this is what we do in this course, is giving you all these different pathways and options and ways to explore it and set yourself free and to have fun with it. Being human can be a fun experience once we see the absurdity, and also the surrealness of being human. And we can learn then how to work with it, how to heal it, how to include the ape, but not letting it run the show. And crystals are just the most wonderful beings here to also assist humans in transforming their lives, bodies, mind, and emotions. So please join. You got nothing to lose. Maybe what you will lose is your addiction to belief systems and traditions and rules, submission that we have to follow or do certain things, and set yourself free for real and live as a free, aware, spiritual being in human form.
One of the most common feedback that we get is this course is both the most challenging study of spirituality people have experienced, and simultaneously they feel more supported and sort of enveloped in a way than they've ever felt before too. How is that possible that you can be both like stretched and pulled and challenged and yet so lovingly supported at the same time by these crystals and by you and your teachings?
It is because you're lovingly supported. Because we know that for humans to study spiritual principles for real, traditionally you would have to leave your physical life behind you and will go to an ashram and stay there for the rest of your life. And that's difficult in itself. Try to do it while having a normal job and a family and screaming kids and having to earn money and pay your bills and go on vacation. Try to do it in that setting. And then on top of that, make the teaching more advanced. So, but the point is that this is where it's at. Any spiritual insight, any revelation, any level of consciousness has to be unconditional, which means it has to work in any setting. You need to be able to practice it and live it and breathe it, no matter what outer circumstance you find yourself in. So that's the test. And to do that work for real, you need to be supported, because otherwise you can't do it. And it's a way for us to support the unfoldment of what you are and what other people are. So yes, we're creating this, in a way, a nurturing bubble where you can study and experiment and to let yourself be marinated in these principles and these teachings and test things out, and we will make sure that you don't get too imbalanced. A little bit of imbalance can be healthy, but we will kind of protect this as an arena. So the bubble will both consist of higher vibration, enabling you to then have insights and understand things on a level that you would not be able to otherwise. So it means that you will get faster through your karmic process if you want to. So you will feel that support and that nurturing at the same time as the teachings and the principle will kind of punch you in the face. Also because it will be manifested in your life. Things will happen. It's part of how we teach. So it will move into your life's arena, and it will be very concrete, and you will have to deal with things. So this is how we will test you, because it's part of the homework. That you get the principles, now you have to practice them in your own life. So we all need that support and that sense of everything being kind of safe, in order to go beyond our fear and our programs to actually engage in this sort of kind of karmic and spiritual study. Because as we know, humans will always have so many excuses, so many explanations for why they shouldn't. So when it feels safe, when it feels that we are being supported, it's a little easier at least, so that's why.
IKYA Aligned Crystal Healing Collection 3 is a unique, stimulating, inspiring course. Let's say out there you're one of those people who's ready to jump in, but they're wondering, how do I prepare? And what do I need to be prepared for to get the most out of this next year of study with you and the crystals?
The most important way, I think, to prepare for this is to meditate, do spiritual practices, and try to work on your own dedication to truth and your willingness to confront yourself and your patterns, and to study, what you are, both as a human and as a spiritual being, and the willingness to let go of patterns, willingness to let go of whatever does not work. It's quite interesting that when humans are offered tools of healing, they will often resist them because we have an addiction to our suffering, because that's where all the excuses are, and so we can be in our narratives, our emotional stories, instead of stepping up and both healing, growing, and becoming more adult spiritually. So the way to prepare, I think, is to decide to have fun, decide to be excited, and to move into a space where you kind of move to a new level in your spiritual journey, and that you try to stay in that. So it's like, think of when you were a child and you looked forward to starting school. When you're in kindergarten and you want to start, it's that feeling. Have that sense of excitement and adventure, because this is an adventure. And try just to explore your own life and want to unpack as much as possible. This is a journey that will make it clear to you that you have so many more potentials, both as a human and also spiritually, and they will start to unfold. And it's real. So just look forward to this process and be ready for all the gifts, and be ready for all the hard work. But most of all, just try to be in a state of open heart and playfulness, and have the intention of letting this journey set yourself free on all levels. I think also it's important to have a clear intention of wanting to be in service, because I always say that all spiritual paths will at some point lead to service. If you look at all religions, all traditions, it doesn't matter what we do, at some point, when we go deep and high enough, it becomes about service. And when we are at that level, you don't really care about where you came from. It's like, that's the main highway, and you don't care about all the little, scenic routes that led you there. That's when things start for real. And there's a recognition between individuals who've started the path of service. You can see it. It doesn't matter what religion, path, teaching they're on. It becomes more similar, because service is the key to a higher level of consciousness. It is the only practice that can lead you further. So this is a course in assisting you in that transformation and becoming someone, being in service for real, and what it actually takes. So if you have a longing to be in spiritual service, I think that's the most important way you can prepare. Service is joyful because you understand that it is you. When we are in service, we grow and we heal, because we go beyond the self. We go beyond our own needs, but we learn to include ourselves. It's not a service where you pretend you're not important, where you try to suppress yourself. It's the opposite. It's understanding that you need to become everything you are, because otherwise you have nothing to give. As the vehicle, if you want life to express itself through you, you need to be present in everything you are. You need to be present in life in every moment. And you need to be kind of fully unfolded as much as you possibly can, because that's how life can flow through you. You know, if you suppress yourself, instead of being able to let a river flow through, you become like a straw. You know, the more we neglect ourselves, the more we think we need to suppress ourselves, the more we have stories about not being worthy, the straw becomes like thinner and thinner. And we need to expand, which means acknowledging who we are also spiritually, but also understand how can we turn everything we are into a working vehicle for life. And it's real work. But as all traditions, all paths at some point lead to service. And this course is really a crash course in advanced spiritual service. It will kind of show you directly to that highway and what is necessary for you to do in your life to get up to speed. Because it's the same thing. If you want to drive on the highway, you need to be able to drive at a certain speed. And that is also how much resistance you have in your system. Because, you know, if you have a lot of resistance, you will go slower, and then you have to drive on a country road. That's fine. But if you want to be in service, the speed is a lot higher, and then you need to be able to drive that fast. So you need to, again, cleanse your system, to be able to vibrate a higher level of consciousness and to have less resistance in your system. So this course is teaching you how to get there and what to practice in your life. And you will get so much assistance from the crystals and the guardians and myself. And the change and transformation is real.
So I'm a student in IKYA Aligned Crystal Healing, Collection 3, and I have an intention of getting the most out of this course and really stretching and growing. From your perspective as a teacher, what do you see in the day-to-day life of that student? How does it look? What are sort of the practical aspects of living this course out for real?
How to live one's path, I think, is always the kind of proof of the pudding when it comes to any spiritual practice. But it's growing into the attitude of everything being spiritual. You know, I sometimes say that I don't like the word spiritual because it implies that something is not spiritual. There's only one reality and everything is in it. So, you know, spirituality is more than the attitude we have if we're in a state where we accept that there is one reality and we have to grow into it. And when we're not in the spiritual mood, it's more that we're in this very kind of ego and self-based illusion. But the practice is to try to notice what life is trying to teach us and show us, and listen to the teachings of that month. And I advise that you do it as often as possible, every day, if possible, and try to look for the clues in your life. Try to look for the situations where you go, oh, that's it. And then you will know from the teaching what you need to focus on. And you will have the help from the crystal. So you will be tuned into that kind of energy in that spectrum. So you will be able to test out certain spiritual principles in your life, and you will get it. Because when we explore this way, we get it, we understand it. There will be situations in life where we're being tested and where we can test out, you know, what we assume. And in that dialogue, life will show us that, yeah, maybe it's a little bit more that way, but you're on the right track. So it's having the awareness of life being a spiritual practice, not just, you know, a moment here, a moment there, but life is one continuous spiritual practice. And it's up to us to be aware of that and interact with life based on that dialogue that is between you and life. And also try to be someone that can affect other people's journey in more profound healing ways. And things will manifest and things will happen, but when we are in that state, and where we have that willingness to be in service and in love, when we start the day from that perspective and it becomes permanent, everything changes. Because you will start seeing life as one organism. You will start seeing the oneness because you're practicing it, and the unpacking of yourself is not just something that happens within you, it happens outside of you as well, because your outside life is reflecting what's happening on the inside. So when you are unpacking something outside of you, it will be happening on the inside and vice versa. So it's having that intention and willingness to go beyond everything you currently know, everything you currently relate to, and understand that there are levels of reality present here and now that you're not sensing, that you're not interacting with. But you're able to penetrate and go beyond your current level of consciousness, current level of mind and understanding by introducing all these practices that I teach. And gradually, the illusions will melt away. It doesn't happen quickly, because it's a long process, but you will feel that layers will be kind of peeled off and you can see more clearly. And you understand more about what you are spiritually and how that connects with the world. And being in service becomes very natural. So it's all about this peeling process where both you and your life becomes clear and real.
For those of you out there who feel like maybe life is already hectic or overwhelming enough as it is, or their spiritual studies they're like up to here, how can I handle more? IKYA, what do you say to those people? How does this course fit into that kind of experience of life?
Yeah. Some people hold themselves back when it comes to spiritual practices and the spiritual journey because they feel that their life is too complicated already and they don't want to add to that. And some people are afraid that because they know once you start working, things will happen, right? But it's important to understand that when we feel that life is too much, it's that we have too much resistance, that we are in a space where a certain level of spiritual and natural laws come into play, and then we are out of tune with that because we are in resistance. We hold on to our stories and our needs and all of that, and then we bump into things. Then we crash. Then we will feel drained. It will be overwhelming and complicated because we are out of harmony. And yes, then it's not about piling on more, because if we choose to be in resistance, then everything becomes worse, because you can't increase the volume and then be in the same state of resistance. That's self-harm. Now, this is why it's so important to learn spiritual principles and practices that will balance you, that will give you the tools and understanding needed to deal with the space you're already in. Because we're all in a space that we're trying to grow into. This is why we experience all the problems and challenges in life, is because all evolution happens through adapting to a space. So we're always introduced to a space, and then we're in our own subjective reality and understanding, and there will be a mismatch where the space represents the level of expansion available to us. And by interacting with that and things not working, we will be forced to learn, and then we adapt into new habits, new ways that will be in harmony, and that represents a little bit more expanded level of consciousness. So I always focus on where you are at this moment and the potentials that are here and now, and for you how to unlock that, how to become competent spiritually, how to realize your tools, realize your potentials, and understand how to relate to life and make it work. So you will get to a level of harmony and over time, life mastery. Because that sense of overwhelm is simply you being out of tune. It's you not understanding how to adapt to the space you are in. And yes, I would say a lot of what you find in modern spirituality will not help you because it's fluff. It's belief systems, it's fantasies, and it's not rooted in reality. It's like, look over there and we can fantasize about this. It doesn't change your life. And then it could add to the pain, because then you introduce practices that are not in alignment with reality. So you're then trying to do something out of an intention of growing and healing, but because it doesn't work, you're making it worse. And many people have that experience when it comes to spirituality, that it makes everything worse. And it's because the tools and the teachings are not reality-based. So you think you're doing something, but in reality you're doing the opposite, you know? So being an intention of growing and healing does not necessarily mean that it will happen unless you use the right tools, unless you learn how reality works. This is why everything I do as a spiritual educator, I try to make sure that everything I teach can be practiced. And for people to be able to test everything I teach. They can test it in their own lives and they can see, does it actually work? And they find that, yeah, it does work. And it will bring you to greater insights, more balance in yourself, and you will understand how the space you're in, how it works, and what kind of principles life is trying to teach you. And that becomes a competence in itself, which means that when you have finished your current level, you know how to approach the next one. So, if you're in a state of overwhelm, if you feel your life is too complicated and I can't deal with the spiritual stuff, although I know it's there, I would say this is the course for you. It will not, give you more than you can take, but it will give you the realizations, the tools, the insight, the level of consciousness necessary for you to adapt and to evolve to the potentials in your life, so you can get to a state of harmony and understanding what is going on and how to deal with it. So you can feel a sense of calm and centeredness inside of you so that you actually want to grow more. So you can get to the point where, oh, this is actually fun, because often I talk with people about how much fun spirituality can be and how fun it is to heal and grow. And some people, I don't experience it that way at all. It's just suffering, it's difficult. I say, it's because you're not doing it right. Because you're fighting. It's because you think you're doing one thing and yet you're doing something else. I sometimes use the example of, if you want to grow vegetables and you do it from a low level consciousness, you say, I just want to grow vegetables because that's my expression, and you go out in the winter, you try to plow the field, you try to grow vegetables, and of course it won't work, and then you wonder, why is God punishing me? I'm a good person, this should be working. It's like, yeah, you're doing it, but you're still not doing it. You have to learn how to collaborate with nature, which means you need to understand the season, you need to understand climate, you need to understand, how to nurture, how to make use of the soil and the rain and sun and all of that. And then you will have success. It can't just be, I want to do this. Because whatever we want to manifest something in our lives, just like growing vegetables, we are not the ones growing them. It's nature. It's the same thing. Whatever we want to grow in ourselves, spiritually, in our own lives, it's not really us. It's that we show up. It's us learning about laws of nature, spiritual principles, how things work, and how to co-create, how to be part of nature in a balanced way. And every space, every level of consciousness, laws of nature, and therefore seasons, how nature operates, will be different. So we have to learn how to grow vegetables all over again. And I teach people how to grow vegetables, no matter where you are, no matter what level of consciousness. So everything I teach is about making you as productive as possible by learning about where you're at and your potentials and the tools and how nature operates, so that you can get results with all your efforts spiritually. Because many of you you're doing the work and you don't get the results. And this is also why I think it's so important with this course and everything I teach. It's about assisting you getting to the good stuff, finding in a way the shortcuts and finding what works so that you get results from all your efforts. It's frustrating often for people to do what they think is spiritual work and then they really don't grow. But it's because they don't understand. It's because a lot of spirituality out there is made up. And it doesn't work. This is why it's so important for us to be present in our own lives, in this physical life, because here we can test it out and nature will respond. When we're just doing it, in our inner worlds, there's no correction there. We can make up anything. Out here, we can make up things, but life will show us what's real. This is why it's so important to include the manifest life as the spiritual arena and use the inner worlds as a way to connect to everything, but this is where we practice. So this is also part of what this course will be giving you, is expanding your arena and making life less difficult, more challenging, but less difficult. And you will feel and see your own progression and growth. So you will also see that, yeah, okay, I'm getting more results. I'm actually getting something out of my own spiritual efforts. And that will inspire you to go even deeper.
Is it accurate to say then, IKYA, that IKYA Aligned Crystal Healing meets each of us exactly where we are in our evolution, and I don't have to be or believe that I'm an advanced spiritual student or that I'm really good at working with crystals to get a lot out of this course?
Absolutely. You will approach these teachings from where you are because,
That's where I am.
Exactly. And knowing that we will always be assisting you from where you are at in your own journey, because everything I teach is, the starting point is the complete respect for the autonomy of each individual's journey. It's not about trying to shape anyone. It's trying to assist people out of the beliefs, of the collective molds, so that we can discover who we are truly, our own uniqueness, and to unfold that, because that is the only way to achieve true spiritual growth. So yes, no matter where you are at in your spiritual journey, what level of consciousness, what you're being taught in this course will assist you from exactly where you are and to maximize your growth and healing from there.
It's fascinating that as we've talked about IKYA Aligned Crystal Healing, we've talked a lot about alive and aligned IKYA Aligned gemstones. But I start to think the potential and the invitation of this course really is that I might become alive and aligned. Is there anything to that?
Absolutely. Because strangely enough, you are alive too, and it's, yes, also experiencing that level of alignment spiritually with kind of who you are, and your essence and your flow, and to let that be channeled into your life
which from, as we've been talking, that strikes me, that's really waking up to being alive.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And this is also why it's so wonderful to work with crystals that kind of channel, their flow so clearly. Because it's that principle of alignment with who you are and what you represent. And for that to be reflected into each and every one of us so that we can find our own uniqueness and our own unique flow, and to let that be expressed not through our ego, but let that spiritual essence come through. And we can't do that for as long as we try to copy or follow or believe. We have to unpack. And to move into a state of complete kind of relaxation and acceptance of who and what we are spiritually. So yes, part of this journey is also to remove all that kind of collective knowledge that does not represent you. This is why I often say that, I'm the unteacher, because the point is to unlearn. Because first we learn, and then we have to unlearn, to do it our own way. And unlearning is to reinvent, right? So I can teach you spiritual principles, but unless you reinvent it for yourself, and then you understand it from your own consciousness and from your own exact point of evolution, it will not help you. Because then you're following, and then you're not being authentic. So it's always digesting and exploring until you get it right where you are, and for you to see how this is relevant for your journey. And in everything I teach, this is the goal, for each student to be able to reinvent, because that's how the insight or the knowledge or information becomes completely also aligned with your exact point of evolution. And then it becomes a tool you can use that is in harmony with your journey. And yes, as we grow spiritually, we simply become more and more ourselves, not from the ego, but spiritually. And that starts to manifest in our lives as well. So we get a deeper sense of just being who we are. And it's a strange sensation, because it goes beyond kind of feelings and satisfaction. It's a deep, deep sense of reality. And we don't have words for it, but you just know that everything is in place. And that you can see life and your body being the same. It's like being in the extreme version of what people often will call to be in the zone. But it's permanent. And it's everything. And that's a state that everyone can move into. And crystals can teach you how to get there. And then you use these teachings to experiment in your own life. And gradually, step by step, although you might not get there completely in this lifetime, you will get so much closer, and your life will get so much better.
Thank you so much for joining us, IKYA. This has been insightful, and for me at least, inspiring, and we're so excited. I mean, we're bubbling with crystalline energy, preparing for Collection 3 of IKYA Line Crystal Healing. And again, it's starting on the 1st of June, and we really look forward to seeing as many of you join us as possible.